Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing amazing today. In this video, we're diving into the latest updates about Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. You don't want to miss this. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Kelly Ripa had always believed that life, no matter how chaotic or demanding, ultimately found a rhythm. For decades, she'd balanced the early morning haze of studio lights, the chatter of celebrity guests, the comedic banter with her co-hosts, and the deep, familiar comfort of her family. It wasn't easy, but it was hers, a delicate choreography that somehow worked. But on one quiet autumn evening, that rhythm collapsed. It had started with small things, moments so subtle that, at first, Kelly dismissed them as exhaustion or stress. Mark would pause mid-sentence, his eyes drifting as if searching for a word that hovered just beyond reach. He'd wince at a sudden sharp pain in his side. He brushed them all off with that trademark Consuelos charm. "Babe, I'm fine," he'd insist. "Just tired. You worry too much." But Kelly sensed something deeper. She always had. It was the instinct of a wife, a mother, a woman who knew her partner better than she knew the lines of her own hand. The phone call that changed their world came on a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary day that feels almost cruel in retrospect. Mark had gone for a precautionary scan earlier that morning, mostly to ease Kelly's concern. He joked about grabbing lunch afterward and acting as if he'd done her a favor just by showing up. Kelly was still reviewing production notes for the next morning's show when her phone rang. She recognized the hospital number instantly. Her stomach dropped. "Mrs. Consuelos," the doctor began, his voice steady but heavy. "We need to talk about Mark's results." Those words, the ones no one ever wants to hear, hovered in the air like smoke. The next few minutes blurred together. Abnormal cells, aggressive progression, immediate treatment recommended. A diagnosis spoken carefully, clinically, but carrying the weight of a fallen world. Kelly couldn't speak. She could barely breathe. When Mark returned home that evening, Kelly could see it in his eyes that he already knew. For the first time in decades, he didn't try to be strong. They simply held each other, collapsing onto the couch, the hum of the city outside their window fading into nothing. The following days unfolded with a surreal blend of routine and heartbreak. Kelly still had to host live. The lights still rose, cameras still rolled, and her smile, so familiar to millions, had to stretch across her face, even when her heart felt fractured. She became an expert in compartmentalizing, grief tucked beneath mascara, fear hidden behind a polished monologue, dread masked with laughter during cooking segments. But every commercial break, every moment the cameras cut away, her facade cracked. In the privacy of her dressing room, she'd press her palms against the cool countertop and draw in breath after breath, reminding herself not to fall apart. Her team sensed something was wrong, but Kelly protected the truth fiercely. This wasn't a story for the public, not yet. It was hers and Mark's, and it was still too raw to expose. Meanwhile, Mark began treatment, quietly, without fanfare. He insisted he didn't want pity. "If I start acting like a patient," he told her with a soft smile, "then I'll start feeling like one." But even he couldn't hide the toll it took. The fatigue, the pain, the uncertainty. Once the strongest man she'd ever known, Mark now struggled to get out of bed some mornings. At night, Kelly would lie awake listening to his breathing, her hand resting on his chest, just to feel the rise and fall. She didn't dare close her eyes. Sleep meant losing control, and she had none left to spare. One evening, weeks into treatment, Mark sat on the edge of their bed, shoulders slumped, head bowed. Kelly entered the room quietly, the soft glow of the lamp casting long shadows across the floor. "Bad day?" she asked softly. "The worst of them," he murmured without lifting his head. She crossed the room and placed her hand on his back. "We'll get through it," she whispered, though she wasn't sure if she was reassuring him or herself. Mark turned toward her then, his eyes raw, vulnerable. "I'm scared, Kel." Hearing him say it, hearing the man who had always been her anchor admit fear, shattered something inside her. She knelt in front of him, taking his hands. "Then be scared," she told him. "Be scared with me. Just don't be scared alone." Tears welled in his eyes, and Kelly pressed her forehead to his. For that moment, the world fell away. There were no cameras, no doctors, no looming uncertainties, only the two of them, clinging to whatever strength remained. The show's producers eventually noticed the strain Kelly was under. Her pacing backstage felt restless. Her laughter on air carried a tremor. She would lose her place in a segment or drift off during a guest story. Finally, her longtime friend and producer pulled her aside. "Kelly, something's happening, and you don't have to pretend with us." The sincerity in his voice broke her open. She didn't tell the whole story, not the medical specifics, not the darkest parts, but she admitted enough. Enough that the show quietly adjusted her schedule, trimming her commitments, offering her moments to breathe. But Kelly didn't want breathing room. She wanted certainty. She wanted answers. She wanted a future not shaped by medical charts and prognosis. And she wanted Mark healthy again. As winter crept in, Mark's condition fluctuated, good days sprinkled among difficult ones. On the better days, he'd cook dinner, play old Spanish guitar songs he hadn't touched in years, or tease her about her dramatic tendencies. On the worst days, he barely spoke. One night, when the first snow of the season fell in soft sheets outside their brownstone window, Mark asked Kelly to sit with him by the fireplace. He looked tired but peaceful, his hand resting gently on hers. "There's something I want from you," he said quietly. Kelly's heart clenched. "Anything," she whispered. "If things don't go the way we hope." His voice wavered, but he continued. "I want you to keep living, to keep laughing, to keep doing the show. I want you to move forward." "Don't," Kelly said sharply, tears filling her eyes. "Don't talk like that." "I have to," he murmured, "because I need you to promise." She shook her head. "No, I can't. I won't." Mark's hand slid to her cheek, wiping away a tear with his thumb. "Kelly, you spent your whole life giving others strength. Let me give you a little now." She broke then, completely. Her sobs came in waves, her body trembling as she buried her face against his shoulder. His arms wrapped around her, weak but steady. "You're stronger than you think," he whispered. "No," she cried, "not without you." For weeks afterward, those words haunted her. Every time Mark had a difficult day, Kelly would hear them. Every time she walked onto the set and forced a smile, she'd hear them. Every time she watched him sleep, unsure what tomorrow might bring, she'd hear them. The fear of loss settled like a constant shadow at her side. But something else happened too, something unexpected. Kelly found a new resilience, forged from the very pain she feared. She advocated fiercely for Mark's treatment. She spent nights researching medical options. She laughed with him even when it hurt. She loved him with a depth she hadn't realized was possible after so many years together. And slowly, very slowly, the tide began to turn. The treatment started showing signs of progress. Mark's energy improved. His pain lessened. His smile returned more often. Hope, once a flicker, grew brighter. The morning Mark finally received news of improvement, they were sitting at the kitchen counter, the soft light of dawn creeping across the marble surface. Kelly held his hand so tightly her knuckles were white. The doctor's voice on the speakerphone was calm, measured, but this time, it carried good news. Stability, regression, positive response. Kelly's heart soared and shattered all at once. She burst into tears, laughter mixing with relief. Mark pulled her into his arms, holding her as tightly as his strength allowed. "We're not done," the doctor cautioned, "but this is a very good step." And for the first time in months, Kelly allowed herself to believe it, to breathe, to feel the rhythm of life return, faint but present. She looked at Mark, her eyes shining. "We're going to be okay." He smiled softly. "We already are." Their journey wasn't over, but the darkness had finally given way to dawn. And as Kelly walked onto the set of Live the next morning, she didn't have to fake her smile. It was real. It was hope. It was the beginning of their next chapter together.